how do we convert these top 8 finishes to a medal? How do we convert top 4 finishes to a medal? How we convert these bronze to a silver or a gold? Olympic medal winners are not growing on trees. We got to nurture them right from junior grassroots level. Mentoring during the transition period from juniors to seniors is so critical. That's the time we lose the most number of athletes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm Anuradha SenGupta, and I guess if you're watching this, you agree we must keep talking. So, here's what I'm curious about today, and that is the fact that with the Olympics and Paralympics done, the spotlight and the public gaze will inevitably shift away from our athletes. So, what do they do next? And this includes both medal winners at Paris 2024 as well as people who didn't make it to the podium. What do they, as well as the ecosystem in which they function, and that includes the government, national sports federations, the Sports Authority of India, the Indian Olympic Association, and private companies that support our athletes, what will all of them do next? How will they review the performance that India has put in, the results achieved, and how to improve between now and 2028 at LA? Well, I've got someone who has a lot of thought, if not answers, to all of these questions, and that is Viren Rasquinha. He was the former captain of India's hockey team. He's an Olympian, and he's the managing director and CEO of OGQ, or Olympic Gold Quest, that has been supporting many of our star athletes. Viren, thank you for making time.
Thank you, Anuradha. It's a pleasure to be here and always good talking to you.
So, is it like, are you getting a breather? Olympic year means right from Jan onwards, it must have been go, 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 right? And now we are in September. Olympics done, Paralympics done. Is it time to take stock or not yet? How does it work?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a very exhausting last couple of months, especially with the Olympics and the Paralympics coming in quick succession. In sport, you work so many years for those 2 weeks of the Olympics and those 2 weeks of the Paralympics. So people generally tend to see the end result, whether you stand at the podium or not, whether there's a medal around the neck or not. But I think whether you win or lose, for us involved deeply in sport, it's really the journey and the blood, sweat, and tears that happen every single day at 5:30 in the morning. And people tend to see once in 4 years, but for us, it's every single day. Yes, it's been an exhausting last 4 years, but maybe a bit of a disappointment at the Olympics. We could have done better, but a phenomenal Paralympics. India did so well, so a little bit of mixed bag.
Are you beginning to analyze performances, especially with OGQ athletes, or is there still time before you really swing into action on that front? Given that it's continuous prep, that there's no stopping.
Oh yeah, I think uh, in terms of the Olympics, not just OGQ, I'm also part of various government bodies. I'm part of the Mission Olympic Cell, which looks after India's Olympic preparation. So yes, analysis is going on in every sport over there as well in terms of performance of the Olympics. Not so much the Paralympics, as you know, it's just got over a few days ago. But Olympics, definitely we will start analyzing. But also, I believe when there's a major event, it's sometimes good to take a step back, take a breather, and then analyze when you have a fresh mind. It's not always the best to analyze when you're emotional, when you're tired. Uh, but definitely, yes, deep analysis will happen from major events. You always got to learn. You got to learn quickly, and you got to ensure that we as a country don't repeat mistakes and errors, and see where we can get better. So definitely, especially in the Olympics, lot of scope for improvement for India. We're coming much closer. Uh, yes, 6 medals is a bit of a disappointment as opposed to Tokyo, where India finished 7. There was definitely a huge opportunity to reach double digits, I think, this time. But if you also, sometimes medals cannot be the only parameter that you judge a nation's performance. And for India as a nation where we are maybe hoping to go up the ladder, If you look at fourth place finishes, there were I think almost six fourth place finishes. If you look at top eight finishes, there were 23 top eight finishes at the Olympics. So we're getting closer and closer. And as a country, I think what's important to figure it out is how do we convert these top eight finishes to a medal? How do we convert top four finishes to a medal? How we convert these bronze to a silver or a gold? And we're talking about very, very fine margins that determine whether you win an Olympic medal or not. In archery, literally millimeters, we lost the Olympic medal in the mixed archery team event. In shooting, and Arjun Babuta lost by zero point 0.9 points. That's literally you take a pencil and put a dot somewhere. That's what's distinguishing between winning an Olympic medal or not. So the margins are fine. India's getting closer. We now need to clear that final mile, which is the hardest mile to sort of get over the finish line.
But so what will that take? Because I mean, it's really quite interesting how these are just like, we saw that 100 meters, men's 100 meters, right? And what 5,000 of a second difference between gold and silver. You've just given all these examples. So these are really, really, really fractions that we are trying to better. So what goes in, Viren, to make these fractions? Also, how do you assess whether number four here, this performer in this sport, has this team to cross that hurdle over the next 4 years? I mean, how does one work at this? Because there's so many individuals, so many different disciplines, and so many different bodies at work.
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of questions in one question. So I'll try to see where to start. Firstly, I'd just like to say that, like I said, I think the government is the most important stakeholder, and I work closely with the government. Like I said, I'm on the MOC, and in this particular Olympic cycle, I think it has been the best ever support from the government, from the National Sports Federation, SAI, etc. And also, I think what has been the best ever, and I've been part of many Olympic cycles, both as an athlete now and as an administrator. Uh, I think what has really improved is the collaboration between the various stakeholders. So whether it is the government, sports ministry, SAI, IOA, national sports federations, not-for-profit foundations like OGQ, Go Sports, Reliance, JSW, all stakeholders have been working much more closely. And I think huge credit for this goes to the Director General of SAI, Mr. Sandeep Pradhan, who's done a phenomenal job of leading this entire movement and preparation and getting all the stakeholders working in the same direction, because finally the goal is the same: to help Indian athletes win Olympic medals. So I think in overall terms of support between the government and the system, and say the new age bodies like the OGQs and Reliance, DSW, the world, I think athletes have got great support. Compared, when I compare it back to my playing days, and if you go back before to my bosses at OGQ, Geet Sethi, Prakash Padukone, Vishy Anand, there was absolutely no support at that time. Whether you take it in terms of infrastructure, in terms of quality of coaches, in terms of sports science, in terms of travel, logistics, equipment, recovery, nutrition, injury management. I think we've improved by leaps and bounds. Uh, is there scope for improvement? Of course, there is. There's still a lot to be done, which is reflecting for the medal tally. So I think we're just making a beginning, and there's still a lot of work to do in Indian sport. But one thing that makes me really optimistic is that there's so much talent in the country, and we need to ensure that the right talent gets the right support at the right time. Uh, uh, I I think governance is a major issue that there's a lot of scope for improvement across the board in Indian sports. So that's something where we have to get governance, compliance, uh, quality of people working in sport really much better.
So governance, you mentioned, I spoke to Abhinav Bindra recently. Then, when you read sports journalists like Sharda Ugra, you hear governance needs to get better, coming up quite often as a headline thought as to what will really help unlock or unleash our potential. What do you mean by that? You mean federations and how they are run across sports disciplines, and who becomes part of federations? Because we, when I say we, I mean the public, not the sports, sports people or even the journalists covering sports, but the public gets to know about federations when there is a fallout, right? Or there is a ugly controversy or there's some politics. How can governance improve? Because you've seen it from so many different angles.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with SAI a lot, Sports Authority of India, a lot in the last few years. And like I said, the current Director General of SAI, I remember the previous CEO of TOPS, Target Olympic Podium Scheme Commander Rajgopalan. I think these are brilliant bureaucrats, brilliant officers who do really good work for sport, who have good intentions, work with speed, understand sport very deeply, and that's the kind of people that we require in sport. Uh, I'll say I'll first talk about some of the good federations. I think look at shooting federation is doing a great job from the lows of uh, Rio and Tokyo to now winning 3 medals at Paris. I think the Hockey Federation is doing a very good job. I would say the Athletics Federation is doing a fairly decent job. These are three of the much better federations in the country. And all other federations need to take a much harder look from these three federations in terms of the quality of coaches that you appoint, in terms of the quality of support staff, the quality of how you do national camps, quality of your competition structure for domestic sport. Take for example domestic hockey, junior hockey, women's hockey, girls hockey, grassroots level tournaments, anti-doping. There are so many things in governance, and we need to ensure that and I'm talking, there are about 65 federations that are recognized by the government in terms of having a proper functioning website, in terms of having your audited annual accounts there, in terms of having proper elections to the body, properly run state federations in every sport, ensuring that there are competitions at every age group. So we need to learn lessons from the federations who are doing a better job. We need to ensure there's much more professionalism at every stage, because if we have to win Olympic medals, all these factors count towards building. And because Olympic medal winners are not growing on trees, we
Yeah.
got to nurture them right from junior grassroots level. We have to ensure we have good coaches at every level, good competition structure at every level. I know I have a little daughter playing tennis,
Mm.
and tennis is a new sport for me. I've never held a tennis racket in my life. So I understand going for her tournaments how important it is for domestic tournaments, age group level tournaments, good coaches that have to be there. And every sport needs that. Without that, people just talk that we should win 20, 30 medals, but where are they? We only talk every 4 years during the Olympics and Paralympics, and then nothing happens in between. So we need to make sure without sustained funding, without good governance, without good processes, we're not going to win 20, 30 Olympic medals.
Let's go into the fact that you feel that between government and all the private bodies that are now supporting stars, elite athletes are well funded. And you're saying there's a sea change between your times and between the times before, definitely, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
this investment support, I mean, we heard our sports minister, Mr. Mansukh Mandavia, say that about 470 crores have been spent by the government of India across 16 disciplines for these Olympics. How does that? I mean, how does it work if you spot a talent, or if you say this sports person and this is the kind of government support? How does, let's say, an OGQ, and how do you all collaborate on what is to be made available to the athlete, and including how these costs are shared, if at all?
Yeah, I think first of all, I would just say that one scheme which I see as a big success from the government point of view is the Khelo India scheme.
Yeah.
Mainly because Khelo India gets you very good quality domestic competitions at under 17 and under 21 level. And in, say, I don't know, 15, 16, 20 sports, whatever that number is, if I was a 15-year-old and
Yeah.
I was getting to play in a very good quality national competition, pitting my skills against the best in the country, ensuring that the selectors of my sport, everyone is watching. There's a lot of visibility, there's a lot of awareness. It's a good quality, well-run tournament. That would be the biggest opportunity for me. So I think that's what Khelo India is doing. Like I said, one of the points is competition structure. And Khelo India is giving that competition structure to young kids to make a name for themselves. They're giving them a platform to make a name for themselves. I think what we can do better in Khelo India is then from these tournaments, what happens next? When you identify the talented kids, ensure that they're put in the right ecosystem, in the right environment, under the right coaches, given the right backing, the right support, the right guidance, because that mentoring during the transition period from juniors to seniors is so critical. That's the time we lose the most number of athletes. Uh, in terms of the collaboration, um, first of all, I'll say that an organization like OGQ, and I can't speak for any other organizations, I'll just speak for myself, for our organization at OGQ. We currently look after the training of more than 400 athletes across 9 individual Olympic sports and about 9 individual Paralympic sports. Our priority sports in Olympics are badminton, boxing, shooting, archery, and wrestling. Uh, Out of the 400 athletes we support, broadly about 300 are from Olympics disciplines and about 100 plus are from Paralympic disciplines. And almost 150 of our total athletes are junior athletes in the age group of 11 to 19 years old. So we started supporting Lakshya when he was 10 years old. We started supporting Sindhu when she was 13 years old. We started supporting Aman when he was 15 years old. Manu Bakar when she was 15 years old. So much before they actually came into the national limelight, national camps. So it's important for those 150 junior athletes who are really talented to get that support at that point of time, because at that time otherwise it's hard for them to purchase equipment. It's hard
Yeah.
for them to go abroad for tournaments. Where do they fund them? Most of these athletes come from poor families,
Yeah.
or even if you're middle class, it's hard to
Yeah.
afford training at the highest level. um, in terms of collaboration, I think, like I said, our personal collaboration with Sai and Tops, I would rate it as excellent.
Mm.
Uh, and what I mean is that we talk a lot to Sai, to all the officers at Tops, the research team at Tops. We share research, we share data, we share information. We are talking to them all the time in ensuring that there's no overlap in funding. Take for example, say a Mirabai Chanu. The coach is his uh, he's paid for by the government. She trains in a government facility at NIS Patiala, and sometimes the physio, the mental trainer, etc., working with her, they are OGQ employees. So we pay their salaries. The government is paying the salary. If we send them abroad for tournaments, sometimes the government takes care of Mirabai Chanu, the coach. We take care of the physio, etc. Or there's no doubt that the government is still the biggest stakeholder. It's the most important stakeholder. Sai is doing a great job. We just make sure that together we are sharing all information. There's no overlap of spends on the same athletes, and all gaps for every athlete are taken care of. It doesn't matter whether government, Sai, OGQ, who takes care of it. What matters to all of us is the athlete is well looked after, and all gaps for world class training are taken care of.
And therefore,
So,
all those, you beautifully talked about that 1 centimeter, that you take a pencil and it's 1 point difference. So these, this kind
and
of
it's going to
support
come down to the
those
one
gaps.
percenters,
Yeah. Yeah.
Anuradha. If we get 1% better in coaching, 1% better in training facilities, 1% better in equipment, 1% better in recovery, in nutrition, in mental strength, mental training, in cumulatively that's 6 or 7%. That is going to be the difference between winning the Olympic medal or just participating. So we have to ensure that that final mile is we are really sharp and we're really strong in how we look after training of athletes.
Given the bunch of athletes that you all are working with, you said 400 totally. But if you look at your Olympic hopefuls for the next 4 years, have you already started work in figuring out how to push, Babuta onto the podium from fourth? How Laksha, my God, he was so phenomenal. I mean, I watched all his matches and I was like, wow, this guy is like, he's like Flash Gordon, couldn't figure out where he was on the court. But he didn't, he made fourth again. So, what is the kind of work that will go into ensuring that this obvious talent makes it to podium finishes in 4 years' time? I just took two examples. I know there are so many more.
Yeah, for athletes like if you look at Lakshya Sen, he is 22 years old. Manu Bakar, 22 years old. Arjun Babuta, I think 22, 23, maybe around. Sarabjot, 22 years old. Aman, 21 years old. And like that, there are many athletes in that age group. These are athletes who can easily go the 4 years to LA, and they will in fact be at the peak of their careers. So we got to ensure that they stay focused, they stay fit, for especially in a sport like badminton. Lakshya's had so many injury problems over the years. Men's singles fitness levels have gone through the roof. So it's about keeping them fit, not just physically, but I think more importantly, mentally as well. I think one big learning from this Paris Olympics, Anuradha, has been that we have to get much better at pressure handling and handling situations under pressure, coming having a plan B when things are when plan A is not working. I think these are the little things that we need to get better. Just for example, I think Lakshya Sen was in the lead against Victor Axelsen in the semi-final. He was leading Lee Zijia, and you're not playing against some junior under 15 athlete. You're playing against the best in the world, and there is no match that is going to be easy. No one is going to allow you to win on in a canter, and there will always be times in a match where things do not go to plan, and there will be times in the match where you're put out of your comfort zone, and that's the time where we have to have a plan B. That's the time where we have to the athletes have to be trained such they can take decisions on their own, be brave enough, be courageous enough to take calculated risks. And I think these are areas where India needs to get better. I just gave you an example of Lakshya, but so many athletes, there is no hockey match that for 60 minutes will be comfortable against the best teams in the world. The best opponents will always put you in a zone of discomfort. It's how you deal with the situation at that time that makes a difference. Can you handle that pressure?
So, Viren, it's interesting. Is this one of your key takeaways in terms of reviews post Paris 2024?
You're only as good as your last match. And even if a Manu Bakar has won 2 medals this time, it's not going to make it any easier. But what the medal does is it gives you a lot of confidence, and it gives you self-belief. Not just you as an athlete, it gives all the 17, 18, 19 year olds coming behind you. It gives them the confidence that they see Manu Bakar in training at Karni Singh shooting range. They feel if Manu can do it, so can we. And that confidence is critical for us as a nation, to have our young athletes believe. It's so important. I think belief is hard to measure. It's intangible, but it's so important for our juniors. It's so important that they go to LA 28, not just wanting to participate, but knowing deep inside that they can seriously compete for Olympic medals. And that belief doesn't come from the DG Sai or Keith Sethi or Prakash Padukone or me telling them to believe in yourselves. It actually comes from solid world-class preparation every single day at 5:30 in the morning.
And this is not just the physical prep. There is a mental outlook that has to also coincide with that physical training and talent, isn't it?
Look at the hockey team this time. I thought they did fabulously well. Uh, I think if you look at hockey teams, both at Tokyo as well as at Paris, physically they were extremely fit and sharp during the tournament. Mentally, as a team, everyone was focused, keyed in, everyone knew their roles. and responsibilities, executed it down to the T. So I mean, it's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing the simple things right every single time, every single minute of the match. And but you got to be relentless, and you got to have heart, and you got to have desire. And like I said, about uh, things not going to plan in the quarterfinal against Great Britain, we were down to 10 men. Amit Rohidas got a red card. You can't plan for these things, right? So someone getting a red card in the 17th minute of a quarterfinal of the Olympics, and then we were on the back foot, playing against the top team in the world for 5 minutes with a man short is difficult. To play for 45 minutes, almost, that's bordering on impossible. And that's the time then you step back on heart, on desire. How much does it mean to you? And I thought the effort level of the team on that day, the effort of Srijesh in the goal, phenomenal. And I think the way the hockey players fought, the way the team fought, I mean, you could see how much they wanted it, how much it meant to them. And as fans, that's what all of us want to see. We want to see Indian athletes going out there and leaving it all on the ground, giving it everything they have. And at the end of sport, I don't really worry whether you win or lose. For me, what's more important is give it everything. You come out with the feeling that there was nothing else left to give. And then it's okay. I was disappointed in some cases. Maybe I felt that more could have been given. You can't say that for the hockey team because they really left it all on the pitch.
Tell us about the Paralympian performance, because you do support Paralympic athletes, and 29 medals, I think 6 goals, double goal for Lekera, the shooter. So this is all. What is there any way to understand why we've done so well as a contingent at the Paralympics and not so well as a contingent at the Olympics? Given that there is no comparison, it all means as much to us.
Yeah, I think number one, undoubtedly, the performance at the Paralympics was absolutely outstanding. But from whichever angle you analyze it, it was absolutely outstanding. Second is, I don't think we should compare Olympics or Paralympics. Uh, I'll just give you an example, because the number of we should never say that there were 84 athletes in para, they came back with 29 medals. There were 100 and whatever, 110
Mm.
athletes or 118 athletes in
And
Olympics. We came back with only six. So
that doesn't
that's
work.
not the
Yeah.
right way to compare, because just to give you an example, in in para athletics, there are many high jump gold medals up for grabs. Nishad Kumar won a silver medal in his upper limb impairment category. Mariappan won a bronze medal in his lower limb impairment category. Praveen Kumar won a gold medal in his lower limb, another disability impairment category. So there are many in badminton. There are multiple singles medals. In the Olympics, there's only one medal up for grabs. So there are many examples in table tennis. There are about 15 different categories. So there are multiple medals up for grabs within one sport, because we are talking about different classifications for different events. So for the public who's trying to make a direct comparison, ki the para athletes, it's unfair to the Olympic athletes. It's not fair to both. Let's just say that both are doing a great job. Both are giving everything. The number of events in each side, etc., is vastly different.
Yeah, but I
Oh,
think it's important to hear you explain this. I don't think people get it. When you see the para athletes, you have that L something written next to the category, and I think you just explained, the different categories within a sports discipline. So I think sometimes lack of knowledge also leads you to very quick, easy correlations and
yeah,
answers,
no,
or
no, it's fair
conclusions.
enough. It's not something that comes naturally to most, and Paralympics is still a field where people are getting more and more awareness is getting created, and I really hope and pray that all these Paralympic medal winners who are achieving. Remember that we don't support them because of sympathy. We support them on merit. People tend to see their disabilities. We try and see their abilities. Take, for example, Nishad Kumar. Nishad won the Olympic Paralympic silver medal jumping 2.04 meters with an amputated arm from his elbow onwards. You're talking about 2.04 meters, that's over 7 feet tall. That's 1 feet above my head, 1 foot above my head. That's unthinkable for me. It's so difficult to jump 6 feet. Imagine jumping 7 feet with an arm. You need both your arms to generate power, momentum, etc. What they do is incredible. What Sheetal Devi is doing is incredible. What Avni Lekhara in wheelchair rifle shooting is doing is incredible. So we must remember that the competition is fierce at the Paralympics, and these athletes are training extremely hard to do what they're doing. I just think that one of the big reasons for why the jump in para medal so much, because now the support systems in place are huge. We are very proud to be supporting 25 of these 29 medal winners at the Paralympics, and I think the quality of support. Look at the top support. They are giving para athletes the same support as Olympic athletes. Today, look at the government cash incentives. Olympic medal winners and Paralympic medals at the same level, whether it's the Khel Ratna Awards, Arjuna Awards, it's being treated on par. So I think this really incentivizes para athletes, and athletes like Navdeep, the short stature javelin throw, who won the gold at the end. I mean, to see his joy, to see how much this gold medal has changed his life. These medals are changing lives. They're changing lives of families, and they're also inspiring a very large number uh, of our population with impairments to actually have a hope and a dream. And that hope and dream, again, like I said, is intangible, but it's just so important. So, you know, just I doff my hat out to all these para athletes for the incredible performances at Paris.
Tell us about OGQ's plans. You said 400 athletes between para Olympics and the Olympics, and this is round the clock across disciplines. Give me a sense of how OGQ has got support over the years. We know that you look for donors and you have corporates, donating. You also have individual donors. Has it become a little easier over the 20 years of OGQ?
It's been 15 years, Anuradha. I recently just completed 15 years. It's been a great journey. Honestly, after I retired from the Indian hockey team, I went to ISB, Indian
Yeah,
School
yeah.
of
I
Business.
know your story, Viren. I've been
Yeah,
documenting it and
I
OGQs.
know that. And I had a conventional corporate job, campus placement. I was about to start that when I happened to meet Geet and Prakash. And again, legends of Indian sport. For me, they are gods. Rishi Anand is also on our board, and they had started OGQ. They were looking for a CEO, and they approached me. And first of all, I could not. You cannot say no to a god when they come to you. And also, I think OGQ gave me the platform to help the next generation of athletes do something which I couldn't do, which is win an Olympic medal myself as a player. So I wanted to ensure that the mistakes that were done during my playing career were not repeated for the next generation of athletes. And that's something that still motivates me every single day to help our athletes do something that I couldn't do myself as a player. So it's been a great journey. Yeah, and along that journey, like I said, some of the big challenges are selection of the right athletes, selection of the right coaches. And why I say that is because of all the 100 ingredients that go into the mix of building Olympic champions. The coach is the most important ingredient. We have to ensure all our talented 11, 12, 13-year olds get the right sort of coaching support. Uh, I think the third challenge is ensuring that there is good collaboration with the system, because the athletes we support don't represent OGQ, they represent India. And like I said, the government is the most important stakeholder. We got to find a way to work together because we're all working towards the same goal. And the fourth most important challenge is sustained fundraising. You cannot do any program of this sort without really strong, sustained fundraising. We are a not for profit foundation. We raise funds through donations. These donations come through three ways: from uh, donations from high net worth individuals, donations from family foundations, donations from CSR from corporates. I'm happy to say, Anuradha, that today almost 150 corporates support OGQ through CSR. These are long-term commitments, and we request every corporate, every donor to support us for the long term, because this journey to build Olympic champions does not happen overnight. It's a long journey, and many ups and downs.
Do
Most
they
of the
get
athletes.
that?
I'm sorry.
Do your donors, have they understood what it takes? How do they evaluate their commitments? Because I'm sure they've also, there's been a learning for everybody, isn't it?
Oh, but they certainly understand the need to support for the long term. Anyone who supports sport in our country is a very evolved donor, because the rational cause to support in our country is still health or education or women's welfare or sanitation, things like that. And sport still comes way down the priority list. So if any donor, whether individual or CSR from corporate, is taking the decision to support sport, they're very evolved. They understand that along with health, education, etc., we also need to progress as a country in sport. And sport is the way where I think on one side, Anuradha, you and me, and all sports fans in the country, we feel very proud when our athletes win Olympic or Paralympic medals. But what it also does is create so many role models. I mean, like Mary Kom, Mirabai Chanu, Saina Nehwal, Lavlina Borgohain, PV Sindhu, Vinesh Phogat. They inspire a million young girls in some village, some town, somewhere in the country to have a hope and a dream. And for me, that is just so valuable. I remember when I was a young kid, the 15, 16 years old, I watched at home when Leander Pace won the Olympic bronze medal at the 96 Atlanta Olympics.
Atlanta.
And
Yeah.
that was a life changing moment and experience for me that inspired me to go on to play for India. So I can just imagine, uh, when Mirabai Chanu wins an Olympic silver medal, or Lavlina Borgohain wins the Olympic bronze medal, when Manu Bakar wins those two medals. There's some young girls who are 12, 13 years old in some village in the country watching them and dreaming of becoming the next Manu, Mira, or Lavlina.
Yeah, and I think your corporate donors need to understand that sports is, the form it takes, but what they're doing is actually empowering women, empowering people from different walks of life and different economic backgrounds. So I think there sports is just the form it takes, isn't it? So I think that's what donors probably need to understand even better, isn't it, as they go along on this OGQ journey.
Oh, absolutely. And I also think that given the a level playing field, I think our girls can far outshine our boys. I think women just have much great resilience, ability to handle pressure much better, and that's why if you look at some of our top Olympic performers, from Mary Kom, Saina, Sindhu, Lavlina, Vinesh, Meera, Deepa Karmakar, most are women. So it's great to see that, and I was so thrilled to see. I'm not sure. I think at the last Paralympics, I think there were one or two women medal winners. This time there were about 10. Just goes to show, it just they have to get a level playing field. Our job as sports administrators across the board need to ensure that girls get an equal opportunity. Today at the Olympics, there are 50% medals for males, 50% for females. It's 50-50. So we have to improve women's sport in our country. There's no two ways about that.
You mentioned some of the highs: India's hockey bronze and two successive bronzes at two successive Olympics. Manu Bhakar, Laksha's potential, just waiting, hopefully will, emerge and come good. But it's there. You can see how exciting he can be. Let us talk about some of the lows, and let's start with Vinesh, because I think it broke our hearts that 100 grams on her second weigh in, and what you put out on X really helped clarify a lot of things. Of course, since then, a lot of different things have happened. Vinesh is now going to embark on a completely different political journey. Uh,
Do you feel it's the loss for Indian sports that Vinesh goes into politics? I mean, we wish her well; it's her decision. But is it a loss for Indian sports? And had she managed to get full-fledged support in the next 4 years, would she still have been somebody you believe would be a medal hopeful?
I think it's not so much about the support to Vinesh, whether she got it or not. I think to win an Olympic medal, you have to be fully focused and giving 100% every day in training. And after the hell that Vinesh went through, I think it would break anybody. So I'm actually not surprised that she announced her retirement. Mentally, till today, I still feel the pain. And no matter the medals that came after that, medals that came at the Paralympics, the hockey team winning medal, it's still not taken away the pain of that medal that we lost with Vinesh Phogat. And I think there's some things in life where the pain will never go away, and this is one of them. I remember me playing at the Olympics, Athens 2004. India lost to Australia. It was 3-all. We lost with 20 seconds left on the clock. Australia went on to win gold medal. I was just a participant, and that pained me for a long time. And that was one of my most painful moments of my career. But I think it has been overtaken by the pain of Vinesh losing the Olympic medal. I think anyone in her position, it's just hard. It's just hard, and you need mentally, physically, emotionally. She needs her space, time to overcome this, and I can just understand what she's going through. I think even the pain of Lakshya Sen, both in the semi-final leading against Lee Zijia in the bronze medal match. These are some things that the pain just doesn't go away. So these are tough moments. Uh, I think sport makes you tough, but that doesn't take away the pain.
Do you think Vinesh's going to politics will be a loss for sports, or you think this is just an individual decision that you understand because of everything that you just described so eloquently?
I can't say for sure about that. I don't get into the politics. My job is to look after training of athletes. If Vinesh tomorrow says that she wants to train hard, I'll be the first to pick up the phone and call. And I know she'll call me first and tell me, "Okay, I want to get back." So, but that's her decision, because if she wants to get back to the mat, then she has to be 100% giving everything to the mat. And Vinesh is not someone to give 50% to something. That you can't put one leg in politics and one leg in sport. Both legs have to be in politics, or both legs have to be in sport. There's no, uh, having the best of both worlds in this case. They're both too hard. Whether it's good or not, time will tell. It's not for me to say. I stay clear of politics.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there is so much at stake, and there is so much good work that you all are doing, and you need to continue to do. Viren, I'm going to let you go because I know there's a lot more. The quest for gold will continue, and we are going to keep tabs. And actually, let me ask you one last question, which is what you expect from the public, from people, because you have all our attention when it's the Olympics or when there's some big, very big, massive tournament, and then we sort of forget and we lose interest. Do you need support? What kind of support do people need to provide our champions in between the highs of the Olympics?
Uh, I just hope people watch sport more. And when I say sport, I'm talking about non-cricket sport. Watch a non-cricket sport more. Follow the athletes, follow their journeys, support them not just during that once in 4 years. Support them during the hard times. Support them when they're sick, support them when they're injured, support them when they lose. Because in India, when they win the Olympic and Paralympic medal, you'll always see 10,000 people at the airport. But when they're sick or when they're injured or when they lose, we kick them when they're down. That's the easiest thing to do. I mean, I would love to see people do the slightly tougher thing and support them when our athletes are down. And for me, that's important to be there, because I know I went through those same phases, and I so wonder, when I'm sick, when I'm injured, when I lose, there was no one to support. But when we beat Pakistan 7-4, everyone says that you all are great. So, but as players, the players know who supports them, who your friends are during the tough times. So for me, that's really important to stick with them during the tough times.
So you can't be fair weather. It's not when they win, but all the time that we need to keep this connection going. Those are good closing words, Viren. Thank you as usual. You know, I love talking to you about sports, and I'm not much of a cricket fan. I don't know if I should admit this so loudly, but I think people will know but Olympic Games, something about, maybe it's my dad from who I picked it up. There's something about sport that really comes through in all of these disciplines. And it was such a joy, Paris 2024, no matter what the outcomes for us as a country, to just see everybody play in so many sports. It was quite a thrill, Viren. And thank you for getting it to us and for the OGQ journey. Good luck.
Thank you, Anuradha. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll catch up. Good luck.